The top 5 most disappointing teams in the entire NFL this past season. A quick disclaimer, there were a lot of disappointing teams this year, as there is every year. Feel free to comment down below if we missed any. With that being said, here we go. Start off with the Miami Dolphins. 11-6 sounds really good, especially for the Miami Dolphins standards. But when you consider the roster that they had this past year, when you consider the fact that they had the second best offense in the league and also the top 5 defense towards the end of the season, a first round exit is unacceptable. And yes, injuries had a lot to do with it, but the fact is the defense really wasn't the reason this team was so disappointing. It was the lack of execution and the lack of Tua stepping up on offense down the stretch, especially against good teams. They could not beat the allegations of them not being able to beat teams over 500. Maybe next year will be different, but then again, it's the Dolphins. Next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Fresh off a Super Bowl run, a lot of expectations were high for them to repeat and go back to the Super Bowl with a different outcome. That could be farther from the truth. This offense was bad. The defense was bad. One of the worst 11-6 teams you will ever see in the second half of the season. Starting off 10-1, you'd expect them to be winning the division. That didn't happen. As a matter of fact, they were first round exits as well. Nick Sirianni didn't look like he knew what he was doing. Jalen Hurts regressed. The offense was so generic and boring you could confuse it with vanilla ice cream. It was terrible. Next, we have the Jaguars. Now, this is a special one because this team was the favorite in a rather surprising AFC South. The AFC South that was supposed to be really, really bad ended up being surprisingly good. After making it past this wild card round, you'd expect this team to win the division and dominate this division. The Jags instead looked like they had the second best head coach and the second best QB in the division. Very disappointing considering what they accomplished last year. Next up, we have Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith did it. He wrote back. And it's a shame he wrote back because quite frankly, he had a better receiving core than last year, but wasn't able to replicate the success. You'd expect a playoff appearance to be the bare minimum, especially with a team this talented and a team that improved so much during the offseason. But that ended up not being the case, and because of it, Pete Carroll is gone and Geno Smith should follow suit. Finally, we have the New York Jets. Now, this is going to be a controversial one considering the fact that Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles at the very beginning of the season. But I'm saying this because Aaron Rodgers has been a huge pain for the New York Jets organization. Bringing along his buddies Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard, having Tim Boyle be the backup instead of actually getting a backup QB. Offensive line was terrible, and it became very apparent that Aaron Rodgers was fixing none of this. If he was healthy, the season would be different, but it wouldn't lead to a Super Bowl like many thought it would. It would just lead to the Jets actually making the playoffs and doing something for the first time in damn near 10 years. And what's even worse is that everybody in that organization genuinely thinks if Aaron Rodgers were healthy that things would be so different, and none of the situations that happened, including the offensive line and the wide receivers, none of that would have happened if Aaron Rodgers was healthy, which makes absolutely no sense. But I digress. What do you think of our list? There are definitely some more disappointing teams out there, so make your case in the comments. Follow House Call Sports for more.